In 1990, Hasbro acquired the WWF license and would go on to make 99 memorable figures all the way until 1994. The line was wildly popular and kids scooped them up all around the world. These are highly sought out amongst collectors today. Not a single woman was made. In 2016, Mattel would make retro figures, which were designed after the early 90s Hasbro figures. They would produce figures until 2019, and then take a 3-year hiatus. The retro figure line returned in 2022. Not a single woman was made. Until today. Other small companies have tried at making Hasbro-style women's figures. Bull Marcano by Cella Toys and Chelsea Green by Figure Collections, just to name a few. But these were third-party figures that lacked any action feature, that made the Hasbro line so iconic, and left a lot to be desired. Today we celebrate the first official WWE Hasbro-inspired retro figure, Wendi Richter.
Woo! Here it is, the first women's retro. Let's go!
Meraran. I was just giving a classy introduction.
Well, thank you for doing the research, but I was just way too excited. I wanted to start the review right now.
Will you be reviewing the other 3 figures along Wendy? Analytics show you will likely get more views if you also reviewed the Hogan, Ali, and Stud.
Heck to the no. The Hasbros have already had their moment in the sun. Today's video is all about the love for the women. So Wendi Richter here, she is getting her own video today.
So you are willing to sacrifice views to stick to the heart and soul of LumberJillville?
You should know by now. We don't do anything here in LumberJillville just to get views, right? Our goal is to raise the respect level, love, and awareness of women's wrestling figures amongst the collecting community. We're not here to be some clickbait channel.
I respect that. A lot of wrestling social media channels are capitalizing on the controversy of Vince McMahon and Cody Rhodes. I'm proud of you for not falling down that hole.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. But for one, Vince McMahon. And for 2,
you just couldn't help yourself, could you?
hey, listen, I love Cody, but let's be honest here. Without Cody, there would be no Mayor Aaron Customs. Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started, I just want to remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, like today's monumental figure review of Wendi Richter from the WWE Retro 4-pack Wave 5 from MattelCreations.com. Now I know I've been hyping this figure up, but this figure means everything to LumberJillville. You know, here in LumberJillville, as I mentioned, I'm here to raise the respect level, the awareness, the love of women's wrestling figures in the collecting community because they just don't get it. And that's what we're here to do, to show the world how amazing these women are and how their figures are awesome. And it's always been tough that they never released a female in the Hasbro line. I've almost felt like the kid at recess that's sitting off to the side watching all of their friends play, because we never got a woman in the Hasbro line. And then the retro line, when it came back, didn't get a female until today. And this is the first time that we can have a Hasbro-inspired women's figure to put alongside all your Hasbro men's figures or retro men's figures. And that, to me, is huge. Now, I know some third-party companies have attempted to make females in the retro form, and they're cool for what they are, but they aren't official WWE products, you know what I'm saying? And they are missing some features such as, well, the action features, and they leave a lot to be desired, to be honest. I reviewed that Bull Nakano, and I had buyer's regret right away, so I don't really count those. They're not really official, I guess, in my opinion. So this is the first official female to be included in the WWE Retro line that can go seamlessly with your WWF Hasbros. That's awesome. Now, I could sit here and talk all day about how important this figure is. I mean, I grew up with the Treasurer, and he had Hasbros, and we played with them all the time. And I never thought there was a female that was ever going to be released in the line, right? I mean, looking back, there's many women. Elizabeth, Sherry, Alundra Blaze, Wendy, just to name Luna Vachon, that I wish they would have made and they didn't. So I was holding my breath for a long time thinking we're never going to get a female released in the retro waves just because they'd have to have a brand new sculpt. Well, Mattel shut me up. They made a female, and China was obviously announced. I thought China was going to get here first, but Wendy made it first, so she is officially the first women's retro that can go alongside your Hasbros. And I could just sit here and talk all day about how important this figure is, but let's just dive right into this figure, and let's take a closer look at it. Alright, so let's start off and talk about this packaging here, because this is completely unique from anything I've ever reviewed on the channel. And to be honest with you, I haven't paid much attention to the retro line because, well, they've never released a female until now. And I know that they made the switch. I remember hearing collectors talk about it, where it's a piece of cardboard that slides out of this shiny plastic sleeve, and that way you can take the figure out and put it back into display and kind of go back and forth. And I was a little disappointed by that. You know, I was really hoping to have the old school cardboard back with the plastic bubble attached to the cardboard. That way I can open it up like an old school Hasbro. I really wanted to do that. I was really looking forward to that, but I did forget that they did make this change. And it is hard to tell with pictures online, but I think they've done this for a few series now. And it's really cool for collectors. I'd be curious to know what y'all's thoughts are in the comments. If you've collected retros all this time, do you like this removable sleeve type deal? Or do you like the old experience of taking that plastic bubble off the cardboard backing, right? Now, looking at the cardboard backing, obviously it's inspired by the Hasbro WWF figures. We have that retro WWE logo, much like that WWF logo. We have an image of the talented Wendi Richter there. We have her figure there, her name on the bottom. And then what's really cool is we have this action feature. It says Authentic Superstar Moves, Twisted Steel. And guess what? As far as I know, she actually has an action feature. I can't wait to test this out. Now, I know it sounds silly, but when I reviewed that Bull Nakano from Cella Toys, I was so bummed out that it had an advertised action feature, and it had literally no action whatsoever. I think that's a big drawback to those third-party companies making the Hasbro-inspired figures, is they don't have what made the Hasbro figure so magical. And that's the action feature. Also, the shine of the plastic hasn't really been captured yet, but I digress. You know, this looks awesome. I cannot wait to test out the action feature, as silly as it sounds. Now, moving to the back here, we have the rest of the figures in the line. We have artwork showing how to perform that move. And then we have a little card that you can clip out, a little collector card, just like those old Hasbros. So I absolutely love that the packaging is obviously a throwback to the old Hasbro WWF figures. But like I said, I kind of wish that this plastic bubble was attached to just this cardboard backing so I could peel it off. But let's see how this works exactly. Now, remember, this is the first time I've seen this type of packaging in LumberJillville. So this might bring some headaches to collectors, but I do have another one that I'm keeping MOC, so if I mess this up, it's okay with me. Okay, so it looks like, okay, there's tape down here. There's a piece of tape down there, and I'm not going to be as careful with this as I'd like to be because I just want to find out how to open this. And as I mentioned, I do have another one that I'm keeping MOC. All right, so the single piece of tape is off, and this should slide out. Oh. All right, so the cardboard backing, that looks excellent. That really does. But there's something about the cardboard backing that has the little tears from the plastic bubble attached to it, right? All right, so I'm going to get this figure out, and you know what? We're going to get this figure out on camera. We've waited all this time. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I can already feel the spring-loaded action. Oh my gosh. All right. WWE Retro's 4-pack bundle, Wave 5, Wendi Richter. This attire is from the inaugural WrestleMania, which took place on March 31st, 1985 from Madison Square Garden. On this night, Wendi Richter, accompanied by Cyndi Lauper, would defeat Leilani Kai to become the new WWF Women's Champion. Alright, some overall first impressions. I'm going to be honest, I wish y'all were here to see the smile on my face. It is ear to ear. It reminds me of when I reviewed that Elite Naomi Chase that glowed in the dark. I just had the best time with that figure review, and that figure made me so happy. And this figure makes me happy too. It fills my heart with joy seeing a Hasbro style women's figure in front of me, released by WWE, that has an action feature. And it also makes me really excited for all the future possibilities of who they could release in this line. So yeah, I'm floored by this. This is awesome. Now that being said, let's take a closer look at the figure piece by piece, part by part, and then of course, we're going to test the action feature. So even though I'm showing you this figure piece by piece, part by part, just like I would any other women's wrestling figure I review here in LumberJillville, I understand that these retros are much like the Hasbros and that they're kind of their own caricatures. They have this very unique art style that isn't meant to be hyper-realistic, but also has really great detail to it. It's really hard to explain, but if you've ever held a Hasbro in your hand, or you've seen them, you can kind of see what I'm saying, how they kind of have their own art style, like they exist in their own world. So I'm not going to be picking this figure apart saying, oh, the proportions are off, because that's how it's meant to be. This is meant to be in that Hasbro / retro world, and I'm showing you piece by piece, part by part, honestly, because I think this figure deserves that attention. And if you don't have this figure in your possession, I want to get you the best up-close look that I can here from a review standpoint. So I just wanted to throw that disclaimer out there. Now, looking at the face sculpt and scan, the first thing I noticed is the sunglasses are sculpted on the face, and I love that. That's very Hasbro-esque. A lot of times with their men's wrestling figures, they had the sunglasses sculpted on the face, so they went with that, and I think that's a great choice there. They're painted with a blue frame in the shape of the sunglasses she had. She has a nice little smile. We can see some pink lipstick applied there. And her 80s hair is so 80s. This hair sculpt is awesome. It is teased up, it is brown, and it is amazing. So yeah, as far as the head goes, this matches the Hasbro line perfectly. Alright, so let's discuss body sculpt, because in my opinion, I honestly think the body sculpt is the main reason why we never got a female release in the WWF Hasbro line. Now I say that because the men's figures in that line, their body sculpts were very over-exaggerated, very cartoony, but they had a strikingly high amount of detail in them, and I think maybe they didn't know how to portray that or how to convey that to a female form, so they just didn't attempt it at all. Now, I was real curious to see what Mattel was going to do with the body sculpt and how they were going to make a female figure fit in that Hasbro world. And I think they did an excellent choice, especially when you compare it to that Bull Nakano Cella Hasbro-inspired figure. I mean, that figure's way too small. It's like a Happy Meal toy, but I'll stop talking about that figure now because I did not like that figure. So here, I think the body sculpt is great. It's a little bit over-exaggerated, a little cartoony, but it has pretty good details, just like the Hasbros would. Now, something I'm going to say is I did order that China, pre-order that China with Triple H in that 2-pack, and I'm curious to know if the body sculpt and action is the exact same on the China as it is this Wendy. And at first, I didn't want it to be. I said, China is more muscular, she's bigger. But you know what? After thinking about it, it wouldn't bother me one bit, because that's something that was done in the Hasbro line, as parts were reused, action features were reused, and if they did it here, it would kind of be true to the Hasbro line. So honestly, if the China has the same body sculpt, you know, I think that kind of fits form. So I'll be excited to see that and compare that to this one whenever I get that. So looking at the sculpt itself, it is very, as I mentioned, kind of cartoony, but also has really good detail. The arms are very muscular. We have her one-piece bathing suit attire here with tons of detail. It's got tons of detail all on it, and that's something that the Hasbro men's figures a lot of times had, was a lot of detail on the attire. We have that one elbow pad, which is accurate to that night. It's just painted on. Now, what's interesting is her knee pads are actually separate pieces. I thought they were just painted on, but I kind of messed with it here. And you can see, oh, I wonder if that moves. If that's a joint. All right, we'll get to articulation. I don't think it's supposed to be. But yeah, so these knee pads are actually separate pieces. They sit on there. But I thought they were just painted on. They're actually pieces that slide. Oh, look at that. Okay, we'll get to articulation. I wonder if that's supposed to be seen. And then moving on down to her boots, we have plain black boots with these pink laces sculpted on, but I think it's really cool that we have the accurate pink laces with this attire to match WrestleMania 1. And yeah, I mean, this attire has some sculpting to it. You know, the edges of the attire at the top there, and then around like the thigh. But for the most part, it's not a whole lot of sculpting. It's mostly in paint deco, and I think it looks great. I think the attire is amazing, and as far as the first female body sculpt we've gotten to match that Hasbro-esque look, I think it's great. I honestly love it. All right, so before we dive into the action feature, I'm so excited. I just wanted to cover basic articulation and see how this figure moves. So the head is on a ball joint from what I can tell, but it doesn't have a whole lot of movement. She can kind of move around, but it's inhibited by this hair sculpt, which is how it is for most women's figures. The left arm can move in only one plane, the sagittal plane, we'll say. It can go up and down. The waist can swivel. Oh, boy. Yep, that waist is spring-loaded. It is meant to be with this action feature. I cannot wait to do that. Okay, so the waist can swivel a little bit, but that's part of the action feature, obviously. Now, moving down here to that little joint line that I saw earlier when I moved the knee pads. Yeah, okay, so I don't think this is meant to be a joint line, which is fine with me. I'm not going to mess with it. It's probably going to break, but I think that's why she has these knee pads over that, just to cover that up. So yeah, that's not meant to be. Now, the right arm is obviously that spring-loaded action feature, and much like the Hasbros, you can still move it, but it's obviously meant for that action feature, so let's dive right into that. I'm excited. It is time for the main event. I cannot wait to test this action feature, the first female Hasbro-inspired figure with an action feature, and I don't feel left out anymore. Now, I say that because I just recently rewatched the Major WF Pod YouTube channel, History of WWF Hasbro Figures, and they tested out all their figures' action features, and I thought that was so cool, and this is my chance to be a part of that. So, okay, let's look at the package here. It tells you how to do it. It says, pull arm down and back, twisted steel, and smash appeal. So it looks like the waist swivels a little bit too when you do that. And on the front we have, okay, I think that's important for positioning here. And I say that, see how our arms are kind of up, because at stance here, if you move the arm back, she's just going to punch her thigh. She's not going to do an uppercut. So you could either go, I don't think you want to go forward. I think you want to go back, click it, click it, click it. Okay, the arm looks just like the picture. Okay. So we pull the arm down. Oh, look at that. And we do twisted seal, baby. All right. Now, I know the waist swivels. Now, this figure is very tight. It's not loose. And I think as it loosens up, it would be easier to do. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull the arm. Okay, maybe if I... Here we go, y'all. Here we go. Yeah! So I'm supporting the shoulder joint, because if I just support this and twist, it's going to click and it's going to be down too low. So what I'm doing is I'm twisting. Look, she's facing this way. I'm twisting her. All right, you ready? Yeah! Yeah, oh my gosh, that's awesome. You know what? We need something for her to punch. How about this? Hello, Bendham Charlotte. Hello, Bendham Charlotte. You look mighty sus. Yeah, that was weak. Come on, we gotta get a good one. Like I said, I don't suggest pulling just on the arm because it'll click. But if I go like this, oh, she's gonna whop her. She's gonna wallop her in the face. Oh, yeah. Twisted steel, baby. So this part of my review, I usually give an overall score, then I give my suggestion whether you should pre-order it, get it for online prices, wait for it to hit stores, or pass on it. This figure, in my opinion, there's no score that I can really give it, because this figure is history, right? It's history in the palm of our hands. This is the first officially licensed WWE Retro Hasbro style female figure, and that's huge. And no disrespect to all the other companies that have made female Hasbro inspired figures. There's a Luna Vachon, there's a couple Chelsea Greens, and there's a Bull Nakano, maybe some others. And I think what they're doing is really cool. I didn't mean to poo-poo on them in the review, but this just hits different. It really does. In more ways than one, right? I love the action feature. I love the shine to it. And it fits. It fits that Hasbro style. I've been waiting for this figure, a figure like this, for a long time. So to finally add a female to your Hasbro figure collection is truly amazing. And I honestly suggest, if this review at all made you curious, made you interested, I would go on MattelCreations.com and just order the 4-pack. Maybe see if some of your friends want to buy the others if you don't want to hold on to the others. Or maybe get on eBay. You might be able to find this for a decent price on eBay. But I definitely think now's the time to strike to get this figure in your collection, because not only is this a monumental figure for women's wrestling figure collectors, but this is history right here, y'all. And to have it is truly special, and I appreciate every one of you that has watched this review today and that has experienced this with me. I know maybe I seem like I'm going a little overboard with how special I think this figure is, but I can't tell you how long I've wanted a female released in Hasbro form, an official WWE one at that. So I'm super stoked. This figure's awesome. Stop this review right now and go and get it online. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. For a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Also, head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV at checkout to save 10% on your next order of women's wrestling figures. Now stay tuned, I have some really exciting videos planned, and hopefully at some point in 2024 we get Toni Storm AEW Unrivaled Series 15. Cross your fingers that actually gets here soon. I'm real excited for that review. Now that being said, once again, I appreciate every one of you for watching, and have a great night, y'all.